What is up, y'all? And welcome back to another episode of Chronicles of a Virgo Podcast. And as usual, I'm your favorite Virgo host, Shakita Johnson. And yes, I come before you all on this wonderful Saturday. It's not our normal Wednesday release date, but we are here on a Saturday. Okay. So thank you guys for joining me back for another episode. And I hope you guys are doing well. Hope that your April is off to a fabulous start. Hope that your mental health is good. Hope that your body and your wellness, all those lovely things and aspects of your life, hope all of you guys are doing well. And just know that your girl is sending you lots of love and some good positive vibes. So please embrace all of this love and good old vibes I'm sending you all. So, yes, we are putting this out on a Saturday outside of our normal Wednesday, but don't worry, we're going to get back on track. I'm going to let y'all my business a little bit, let y'all know what's been going on. Before we get into all of that, we got to start off with our lovely mental health check. So, today on a scale of 1 to 5, your girl's mental health is coming in today at a strong 4.5. I'm like in between, right? Mentally, I'm amazing. I am doing amazing today mentally. Physically, I'm tired. Um, I finally got out of that whole rut of like when I'm tired, I'm depressed type thing. So I love that for me. Mentally, I'm in a really good space. Physically, I probably need some more rest, some relaxation, some more self care. However, I know exactly where the fatigue and all this stuff has been coming from these last couple of weeks, and I'm gonna tell y'all. But I have been taking the right measures to make sure that my body is moving. I've been doing more meditations, more stretches, trying to work out more, all of those lovely things. Okay. So, again, we do these mental health checks as a way to check in with ourselves, have that inner dialogue to see if we're feeling well. Like, how are you truly feeling today? Is your mind wandering? Is your body feeling tense in some areas? And if so, can we try to figure out or get down to the nitty gritty of what is causing these things? Maybe, you may need some rest. Maybe you need to drink some more water. What is it? Or maybe something is just stressing you out, and that's okay. But we don't want these things to continue to linger. We want to try to address them up front. Okay. So thanks for y'all doing the mental health check. Okay. So where have we been? Friend, where have you been? Yeah, so I didn't unfortunately put out an episode last week. I've been a little MIA. Even on social media, I've been trying to put out things here and there because we are in April, which is also Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And if you know my story, you've been here long enough, or if you're new and you've seen my post, I am a survivor of sexual assault awareness. And we're going to touch on that in this episode as well. So take that as a little trigger moment, trigger warning. Okay. But what happened was in a couple episodes back, I let you guys know that some amazing things were coming down the pipeline for me, but I couldn't speak on it at that time. And now I can finally speak on it. So I ended up getting an amazing job offer. So within the last 2.5 weeks, I have fully transitioned out of my last company that I was with for almost 10 years to the job that I am with now, that I have been literally praying about, and it just came together so organically, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity, and it's been amazing. But these last 2 weeks, this job has been kicking my tail because I'm still in training, which is fine, but it's just a lot. It is so much, and I don't think I expected it to be what it is, and so it has been very overwhelming, and a lot of testing and different things of that nature. I try to just be in a spirit of calmness and try to ground myself every once in a while, but I'm definitely grateful for the people that have been reaching out to me to make sure I'm okay, to help calm me down, to give me some words of affirmation. Like, I wholeheartedly and so appreciative for all that, all of those sidebar conversations. And shout out to everyone that knew about the job and that kept my business on the low. Okay. I appreciate that too. When I spoke on it subliminally, I hadn't necessarily did everything I needed to do on my end. But like I said, I'm in transition now. So yes, thankful for that. All right. So yeah, I'm trying to get things back on track. So that's why you guys are hearing from me today and not my regular Wednesday. However, during the course of these couple weeks, I'm gonna get my life together. I promise y'all. I can't tell y'all to do it, and I don't do it. So we gonna work this thing out, you know. But other than that, some other things that had happened in regards to the podcast is If you are following me on social media, then you saw the post, because I have been trying to, post my little content here and there when I get opportunity. But Chronicles of a Virgo podcast has made the Apple charts for self improvement in South Korea for the month of April. Like, yes, y'all, like we hit them charts again. So last month we hit the Apple charts in Honduras for education and self improvement. This month we hit the Apple charts for self improvement in South Korea. So shout out to me. Shout out to all my guests that came. Shout out to South Korea. If you're listening in South Korea, thank you so very much for tapping in with me. I'm so grateful for your support and the fact that you decide to listen to me. Okay. I hope you continue to tap in and enjoy the podcast. If you're following me on social media, reach out. Like, let's connect. Like, yes, I'm so grateful. And again, I'm beyond grateful for people to just continue to show up and show out, whether it's support me on social media or it's just listening to the podcast, or if you're just sharing it with someone because the message may resonate with them in a certain way. I appreciate all the love. I truly do. Sometimes I may miss comments here and there, but just, don't charge it to my heart, charge it to my eyes, But I do appreciate everything. And with me not putting out an episode last week and then missing my regular release date this week, that kind of did create so much more anxiety because I realized, a lot of times, like, we always hold ourselves to these high standards and things. And I've had a lot of side conversations on the back end with people that are podcasters or people that's just in the professional world. And people just kept reminding me, like, hey, you have to give yourself grace and things. And my thoughts sometimes get conflicting with certain things just because you're like, well, I don't want it to seem like this and it's not that. But overall, when you're trying to manage a lot of different things and your life is changing, whether it's for the better or worse, you do have to give yourself grace. You have to be patient where you are. And as long as you know what's going on, that's truly all that matters. But I couldn't leave you guys hanging for too long. Okay. So, yes, let's get into this lovely topic. Okay. So, like I said, trigger warning, because we are in the month of April. If you have been following me, a big part of my story and who I am is around sexual assault awareness, because I am a sexual assault survivor. And if you have been joining me since about last year around this time, I had a lot of conversations, did a Q&A with my friends in regards to messages and things that I had been receiving from people in the messages and email about my experience. And I openly answered all of those things. And I've had guests, and I had my mom on last year as well, because my journey entails some things that were going on in my household. And if you haven't heard or watched those episodes, they are on the podcast, they are on YouTube. All those links will be listed in the description if you just want to know a little more. I've also told my story openly on my platform during my first season. And I've been on a lot of other shows, and I spoke on different things in regards to how all that stuff happened, what happened, the legal part of it, where that person is now, everything. Like, I'm always open and candid about it because it has been a part of my journey, and by me having the resilience to speak on it, it's always my hopes that someone else that may be silently crying at night because of things that happened to them will see or hear my story, and they will build up the courage to maybe speak about theirs. So today I wanted to come before you all to talk more about my healing and how it's been, and some realizations that I have realized during the healing of my sexual trauma. Because even though I, come before you all every week, and even on social media, I talk about mental health and things, y'all know that I did not really dive into the therapy portion of my sexual trauma until about 2021. Yeah, I think it's like 2021, 2021, 2022. It's a little blur right now. But with the current therapist that I have now, and we had been doing a lot of work around that sexual trauma and healing, and it was a rough process, because I realized a lot of characteristics and things about myself came from my trauma. And I felt like each time I was to each time I peeled back a layer of what I was feeling, and it resulted back to the trauma, I was like, oh my God, like, am I using this as an excuse now? But that was the only thing that fit the narrative of why these things were carrying out in my life, or why I felt these things about myself. Like I never equated that my confidence and my self esteem and my mentality was the result of my unhealed trauma, because that's what it was. Even with me being in therapy prior to my therapist now, I would avoid the conversations of talking about my sexual abuse. I would talk about them in personal spaces with my friends, or in conversations. It was nothing for me to bring it up and like, oh yeah, I was sexually assaulted or this happened. But to openly dig deep and talk about the details and how I was truly feeling, I had never did that until a couple of years ago. And even now, as I'm sitting in front of this camera and this microphone, I'm saying these things, and like my mind is like blown, because here I am now doing something that I would never thought in a million years I would be able to do. And that's use my voice to talk about these things. So for one, I will say this journey hasn't been easy. Hasn't been easy at all. And if you're watching me on YouTube and you see me look to the side, it's because I have some things written down. So I'll make sure I'm staying on point and get everything out clearly. This journey has not been easy. And I kind of thought that when I went into therapy and my therapist was able to safely get me to engage in the conversation, that it would just be me saying like, hey, these things happen, this is who did it, and then we're moving forward. But it wasn't that. Like, it was kind of like doing a different part of shadow work and peeling back all these different layers of my life, that I have never disclosed to people. Like, my therapist knows probably more than anybody knows in regards to that, and that's perfectly fine. And there are still parts of my experience and other things that happened to me in my life that I probably will never openly speak about, at least not right now, you know and I'm okay with that, because I thought that, like, oh, I gotta tell all this stuff now, and that's not. You do things when you're ready or when you're called to do them. So getting to the point of opening up to her, it was a lot of tears, it was a lot of triggers, it was a lot of emotions and things, it was a lot of questions, there was a lot of resentment, it was a lot of hatred, it was any negative feeling that you can think of. It was that. Okay, it was against myself, it was against family, it was against just everybody, and I didn't know how to manage that. And thankfully my therapist, and I have a phenomenal group of friends, helped me manage that, right? One thing I learned head on before anything else with addressing these things was I learned how to forgive myself, truly forgive myself, and then forgive my abuser. And if you're on social media and you follow me, you've seen that last week I put out a video about getting to the point of forgiving him, and not forgiving him for him, but forgiving him for me, so I could move on, so I could free myself of him, so I could come out of his shadows. Because the more that I held on to all of that hatred and like all of that stuff, it was locking me into this man. All these years later, the more that I didn't say anything, and the more that I just act like stuff didn't happen, I was still under his shell. And I had to learn how to forgive him. And I'm like, how do I forgive somebody that took away parts of me that wasn't supposed to be exposed? Like, how do I forgive somebody that is sleeping in their bed freely every night and living their best life? And here it is, I'm hiding and afraid to be seen because of the things that you humiliated me and made me do. Like, how do I forgive somebody that literally broke a law? Like, you broke a law, you harmed me, you took something from me that, if I'm being honest, for so many years I tried to get back. Like, I try to get back my innocence, I try to get back all of those parts of me. Like, how do I forgive that person? And through life, like, my mom and grandma and other adults and things will always talk about, the biblical part of it. And I truly understood. I didn't understand it at first, but then I learned to understand it, right? And I thought about myself. Like, I would never do some of the heinous things that people have done to me. I would never do some of the heinous things that people are out here doing in this world. But if I do anything that hurts another person, I will want them to forgive me, right? And I would want them to get to a point where they can forgive me and they can move on with their life, whether it's, they still holding some type of resentment, whatever the case may be. Like, I had to make that choice for me. And I learned that, like, hey, this does not discredit your experience. This does not take the accountability away from this person, but this is going to help free you. And this is going to help move you to a point of healing that you need. I didn't want to keep feeling how I felt in my body because for a long time I felt like I'm here, but I'm not here. I just didn't know what the correlation of why I always felt misplaced. And through therapy and journaling and meditation and other things, I truly learned that even when talking about forgiving myself, I'm like, okay, well, now you're telling me I got to forgive myself, but then y'all told me all these years that this stuff that happened to me was not my fault. And it wasn't that I was forgiving myself for the stuff that happened to me, but just forgiving myself for beating myself up so much, forgiving myself for faulting myself, things like that. And the more that I continue to like process it just like that, I felt like a weight was lifted off of me. I felt like a shift was lifted off of me. Do I still see this person as who he is? Absolutely. But I know this person can't hurt me anymore. I know that this person life choices were not the best, but at the end of the day, they got to deal with their higher power. But I need to live my life and I deserve to live my life. Like, like I've survived so many things and I'm probably going to survive tons more things. And one thing that I didn't want to do is continue to carry all of this trauma and the weight, the bags get heavy. Your girl only 34. Like I've been carrying this stuff for so long and it was just so freeing to just let it go. Like y'all have no idea. And I know some of the people may be listening to me and like, sis, you sound crazy. I can never do that. And I wholeheartedly understand it. I wholeheartedly. And this ain't something that happened overnight. I promise you that. And in the forgiveness, what I actually had to verbally do is acknowledge my trauma and pain, opposed to ignoring it and acting like it didn't bother me. I was so guarded. I was so guarded, and I always felt like I had to have my guard up and I always had to like, I got to get you before you can get me type thing because somebody got me when I wasn't, and acknowledging that situation, my abuse hurt me, you know, and understanding that me acknowledging my pain and how those things that happened made me feel didn't make me weak. It didn't make me less of a woman, but it humanized me more because we all go through different feelings because we're human. We experience feelings and emotions. I even had to acknowledge that, hey, our bodies react a certain way, but sometimes in certain situations, that does not necessarily mean that you actually wanted it, because I think from what I hear in my own personal experiences, a lot of survivors, you deal with that. Well, my body did this, so I must have really wanted it. No, baby, you didn't want it. You did not consent to that. Your body is we're natural. We have natural bodies. This is what our bodies are supposed to do. And I really had to, that part right there, I had to like really grill it because yeah, it was a lot processing that. But once I got to the point where I'm like, you know what? Yes, this trauma, this pain, all of these things really hurt me, but they don't have to dictate my life anymore because they were for a very long time. Like everything that I was or who I thought I was at that time before getting in therapy and really healing those wounds, I was not like I wasn't that person. Like I would it was just it was rough. It was rough. And I think back I think now where I'm at when I think I'm like, if I never had found the therapist that I have now and started working on these things, like where would I be in life? I'm not saying that my life was so much off track, but I'm definitely not the same person that I was mentally, physically, spiritually. Like I'm nowhere near that. I probably wouldn't even have this platform. I probably would never have spoke my story publicly. None of this would exist. I'm gonna just keep it a buck. Like none of this would exist. So having to acknowledge that part of me and then really understanding that these things did happen to me and they wasn't right, but they don't dictate my path. That took a lot of work. But what I will tell you is it doesn't dictate my path. Now, will our experiences always be a part of us because things happen to us that we just didn't like? Some things happen to us that may have traumatized us. They were really, really bad, left scars and wounds. all of those things, yes. But just because those things happen, they don't make you a better person. They don't make you no less than a person. You can recreate how your life how your life is going to look and how your life is going to go. And I'm in the process of that. It doesn't always um things don't always go as planned, right? Every day is not always a good day. Do I still get triggered? Absolutely. Do I still have flashbacks? Absolutely. But because I'm in a more of a healed space, I know how to manage those things, right? Something else that I learned on this journey is through my pain, no matter how much it hurt, I always affirmed that I will come out on the other side. And I say that because I have dealt with my share of mental health issues, my depression, my anxiety, especially my suicidal ideation, and living wasn't always at the top of my list, you know? So when I would think about my trauma and my sexual abuse, I had to get in a space where I'm like, you know what, these things will not defeat me. Like I'm more than a conqueror. Like I'm going to come out on top of this. Like I don't know how my story is going to end, but I'm going to live through I'm going to live through this pain. And I can't continue to allow my pain to hinder me because thinking back, I have let my pain and my trauma and things hinder me in so many ways. I've probably traumatized other people. Like, I'm sorry. Like, honestly, I could think of certain situations like I probably was a bitch. Take that back. I was a bitch in my past life. I think we all could probably say like we've had some flaws, right? Nonetheless, with growth and definitely healing, I'm definitely not that person anymore. But I wasn't going to continue to allow that those situations to continue coming out wreaking just negativity. Because I knew always on the inside that that wasn't who I was, but I just couldn't figure out what I needed to change and what was going on with me, you know? So, like I said, it hasn't been an easy journey. And everyone's journey and path of healing, whether it's from sexual assault, domestic violence, mental health, whatever the case may be, everyone's journey and path always looks different. Someone can be listening and be like, I've had situations of sexual harassment and things as well, and I will never get over it. And I'll say to you, okay, and I'll be your voice. I will be your voice if you feel like you will never get over it and you can never speak on it, because that was definitely me at one point. Like I hated my abuser, hated him, and I said I would never forgive that man for what he did to me. I would never forgive him for how he made me look and turning people against me and people dragging my name and like all of those things. But here I am now, and I wholeheartedly believe that all of us can come out on the other side in a positive way of our situation experiences, even though we all have different experiences and different paths of healing. And as long as I can continue to use my platform and most definitely my voice, keep this throat chakra loose, okay, to promote positivity, to promote healing, or to be a voice for the voiceless, I'm going to do that. If that is the role that my higher power has given me, I'm going to fulfill it and I'm going to stand 10 toes down in it. All right. So I have 3 lessons that I listed that I learned so far through this journey. Right. And I know I did an episode like early last year about things that I learned through my healing journey, but these lessons are specific to my sexual trauma. So, number 1 was healing can't be rushed. I wanted to get through this phase of my life with the quickness, because I felt like every time I talked about it, I was going backwards. But I realized I wasn't properly managing my own well-being in all this. So there were things that I had to do on my end after I had these discussions that was not going to keep me cycling backwards, but taking a step forward in a better direction. And within that, it was take the timeline off of things. I think in life, because we have deadlines to meet, and sometimes life and time just goes so fast. I thought that like I would wake up tomorrow and I would be better. I wouldn't have any flashbacks and nightmares. All these things would just go. And that wasn't the case. But over time, and continuing to do the work and process things appropriately, a lot of those things are not there anymore. And this is for me, and this is my journey. I hope that it could be for someone else, but I do understand if you're listening and you don't agree with my standpoint. And that's okay. For me, the main point was realizing that healing just cannot be rushed. And healing should be on your own timeline and not anyone else's. So if someone out there is telling you need to hurry up and get over it, or why are you still talking about it all these years later, or if you like you ain't do nothing then, freak them people. Okay, forget them. Freak them people. Try not to cuss here. Forget them people. And you just follow your heart and you do what you have to do for you, Because with me, sometimes I would just talk about stuff and instantly get triggered. I wasn't ready. And that wasn't the environment I should have been talking about those things in. So remember, healing takes time. My second lesson is I don't have to prove anything to anyone. I think that society shows us a lot of times, especially with social media and these different blogs and stuff. A lot of times when people are sharing their truths and they coming out and telling their story about, their sexual trauma, domestic violence, all of these different things, they're not believed. People are not, they don't believe it. Oh, we didn't see it. We need to see evidence and all these different things. And even with me, when my situation came out, people that I thought was my friend would just not believe in me because they didn't physically see it happen. And this person said this and that. I wasn't believed. And I tried everything for a very long time to justify everything that I said, right? Even if, you can easily go online and look up certain information and certain things you can actually find, certain things you can't, right? But I tried to prove myself to so many people around this. And now I'm at the point where I'm like, I don't have to prove myself to anybody. Like God knows what happened. Like that person knows what happened. The courts know what happened. That's all that matters, you know? And I think that besides the fact that people just need to have and show a little bit more class and empathy when the survivors are telling their stories and things, and put yourself in that other person's position, that as a survivor, you may want everyone to be on your side and you want everyone to support you and understand and believe your story. But the unfortunate reality is that's just not how things are going to go. In some cases, you may have that support, that tribe of people that believe you and that support you and that create those safe environments. But on the flip side, we do live in an ugly world in some moments. And I would love to see people, support survivors more and support the causes of um, sexual sexual assault organizations and different boards and agencies like that. But I think there just needs to be a shift overall, and that's a whole nother conversation about legislation and different things. But as a survivor, you don't have to prove yourself to anyone unless your situation is going to the court and you're working with a legal team, like I did. That's different. But everybody else, the naysayers, forget them people. Like you don't have to prove yourself to someone else. You know your truth and you stand in that. And the last lesson I learned was triggers are a natural part of the journey and they don't erase any work that I did on myself. Okay. And I had to learn how to give myself genuine love and grace. And what I mean by that is sometimes I'll be having conversations with people or just in a moment of thinking about things and my body will have a certain type of reaction. I may get like, sweaty palms. I may start sweating. My chest may start hurting or pulsating. And I'm easily triggered by something that's going on around me. And 9 times out of 10, it's because of the conversation topic or things that people are saying or doing. But I had to realize that these are natural things. Now, fast forward later to all this, therapy and things that I've had, I know to handle those things. They don't happen too often, right? But if I'm in spaces where someone is making me feel uncomfortable by their actions or their words, like thankfully I know how to speak up for myself now, right? Back then I didn't. And unfortunately, things may have happened or been said that didn't need to happen or be said. It just takes so much time and patience, and giving yourself that grace and love is just so important. It's so important. And I do understand about going through experience like I did, or someone else that's been through some type of, sexual trauma, and just wanting to isolate yourself from the world because you don't know how other people are going to make you feel, and you're always afraid, because that was me for a very long time. I found myself still isolated in moments. But what I realized is the more love I gave myself and the more grace I gave myself, I took on the notion that I deserve to live freely, and that everyone is not always out here to hurt me. Everyone won't hurt me, you know? And it took a long time. Like, I know I keep saying that, but I have to drill that into somebody's head today, that healing takes time. It doesn't matter if you have healed from something that I have or something else. Anything, it takes time. Give yourself grace, give yourself love, and meet yourself where you are. Not where everyone thinks you should be, but where you are. And something else that I learned throughout this whole thing, and this was very important for me as well, was you may want support and love from certain people, friends, family, your partner, whomever. But sometimes the reality is you're not going to get that from them. And I wanted so much support from certain people, more so family members. I wanted to have more of these conversations. I had so many questions and things, and I just felt like because a lot of people were hurt and a lot of people were faulting themselves, or a lot of people hadn't done their own healing, and that's okay, that these type of conversations couldn't be had, or they really couldn't support me how I needed to and how I yearned to be supported. And thankfully, God blessed me with the amazing group of friends that I have, because without them during that starting point of my journey, I wouldn't have been able to make it this far. Without my therapist, I wouldn't have been able to make it this far. And it's so important to have people around you that honor your boundaries, that honor your safety, that understand you. And if they don't, right? Because sometimes these topics can be really complex, they make it their mission to understand you. And I know that my friends, and other people that have come in contact with me have done that. And again, I'm so very thankful for that, because a lot of people don't have that, you know? So there was so many things I've learned throughout this journey. There were so many realizations and things, but I think the overarching main focus for me was to just come out on the other side. Like I said, it was always to be in a better space, to not feel like I'm carrying the weight. Because yes, did someone tell me that what happened to me was my fault? Absolutely. Did someone tell me that I deserve to be assaulted and all of those things for all those years? Absolutely. Did people begin to fall away from me? Absolutely. Did I always feel like people was looking at me, and when they looked at me, they was thinking the most disgusting things about me? Absolutely. I didn't want to feel like that anymore. I didn't want to feel like I was walking around with a sign on my back that says everyone hates me. I didn't want to feel like I had to do the most to fit into these spaces or for people to like me. I didn't want to feel like or do things that took me and my personality out of context. I wanted to just be accepted for who I was. But it really came down to me addressing the parts of me that I have had ignored for so very long. And for me, unfortunately, it was my sexual trauma. Now, again, like I said, someone may be listening that has experienced, sexual trauma or just some type of abuse or trauma, and your story is not my story. But what I will tell you is, because I've been asked this a few times, is healing really possible? I personally think healing is possible. Healing is possible for a lot of things. But what I will always say is we are always going to be healing from different cycles of life throughout our life. And that can look like many different things for many different people. But comparison is the thief of joy. Never compare your journey or what you have to what someone else's have, or how someone else is that have been through the same things that you have, to where you are on your path. But what I will say is you can get further. You will get further. Just continue to do the work. Continue to do the work, and continue to find those safe communities and environments of people that support you, that understand you, and that feed you the affirmations and the positivity that you need to grow. Because again, I'm so grateful for mine. And I know I didn't get into much of my story. Again, if you want to hear it, I will put the information in the description and you can definitely go listen. But my abuse started when I was in elementary school and it went to I was in middle school. Okay. So yes, a lot of my decisions in life were very clouded by things that I was taught, things that I was told, things that were done to me. Okay. And there's just so many different layers of my situation. But one thing for certain is I am just so grateful for the person that I said rescued me. And that was my one of my eighth grade teachers. Cause she realized that something ain't right. And we gotta get down to the bottom of this. And yeah, she was able to, she was right. She was absolutely right. So my hope with this episode is that someone is listening and you hear my story and you realize that it's not an easy journey. Healing is never easy. There's so many layers. It's ugly. It's not going to always be beautiful, right? But you also know that your past traumas and things do not determine your path because I promise you, if I didn't have the therapist that I have now, if I didn't have the drive in me to be better and come out of what I was and who I thought I was, if I didn't have the support of friends and family that I have now, this Shakita Johnson sitting me for you and that you hear on this microphone would not be here today. I promise you that. I will bet any amount of money on that. And I'm grateful. And I'm going to continue to use my voice to help people. I'm going to continue to thrive in life. And I'm not going to allow any trauma, any trigger, any heartbreak, anything break me down. I can't. I've come too far. And I'm not saying that things won't happen again in life. Yes, life be life. And I just told y'all, your girl been going through it with work and stuff. However, now that I've gotten the help that I needed and peeled back the layers of the onion, I'm rediscovering myself, continuing to rediscover myself, find things that I enjoy, find new parts of me and explore different things. And that's what life is supposed to be about. And I be goddamn if somebody that was that fucked up in their head did that stuff to me, to continue to determine the joy that I deserve in my life. Because absolutely not. Absolutely not. I just whew, I listening to myself talk right now, I just cannot believe that I'm the woman, and I do not want to get emotional because that was not I cannot believe that I'm the woman that I am today because y'all just have no idea. Y'all have no idea. So yes, I am forever grateful for the healing. I'm forever grateful for my support. I'm just grateful. And I truly hope that for anybody that's listening, whether you're struggling with a trauma or whatever, it's just a hard patch in your life, keep going. If you need help, please say something. Please say something. I know a lot of people are having silent battles and just struggling with mental health and a whole bunch of other things. Just keep going. Keep affirming that you come out on the other side of that thing. If you feel like something is off within you, seek support. I will list a whole bunch of mental health resources and sexual assault resources also in the description. Reach out to me, but just do not hold that stuff in. And if you are someone that is holding on to some burdens that is not yours to carry, baby, we got to release that stuff. Okay. We're going to start releasing because we do not deserve to carry them things. We do not deserve to be hidden away. Okay. We deserve to keep elevating and be filled with joy and live a limitless life. Okay. I would not know what life is today if I hadn't said something back then. So can't nobody come before me ever in my life and shame me for speaking up. As people like to say, snitching, whatever. Can't nobody ever come in my life and make me feel bad for the things that happened to me. I've already felt that physically, mentally, everything. But I've grown from it. And I will continue to nurse those wounds and put myself first. And I want that for everybody. So Whew, sorry, your girl get a little caught up around this topic, but I'm going to continue to raise awareness. I'm going to continue to stand on this and speak about these things. And I hope that you guys listening continue to support me and my mission and everything that Chronicles of a Virgo stands on. I truly hope that this episode resonated with someone. If it didn't, please share it with someone that you may know that it may resonate with. If you have further questions about the topic, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. Hit me up on social media, Chronicles of a Virgo Podcast on all of my platforms, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. I think that's all of them. Or you want to do it another way, you can also email me at chroniclesofavirgo22@gmail.com. Any more questions about this topic, something that you want me to specifically speak on or post some information about, please send it my way. I'll get it out there. I've been answering questions, and I don't mind answering them for you guys. Like I said, your girl gonna get back on track with my regular release days, but I could not let another day go out that I didn't say something. So yes, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And oh yeah, don't forget to follow me on YouTube as well. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope that something resonated with someone. I hope you take something from it. But again, yes, we got to release these things, y'all. We got to heal. We can heal. Okay. We can come out on top of anything. All right. And you don't got to do it alone. You do not have to do it alone. Okay. So, again, y'all, thanks for joining me back for this episode. Please, please, please take care of yourselves, good people. But most importantly, take care of each other. Peace out.